Hi, Stuart Raj here, and I tell you, today's clip, if out of all the clips that I've recorded over the past however many years it's been, probably about 7 years since I've been making clips, this is one clip that you have to watch. Not only watch it over and over again, take notes, and go and look into the stuff that I'm going to be presenting, because this is at the heart of everything I do, how I learn languages, my secret to learning language, and how I go about teaching people to learn languages, and especially languages like Thai and other languages in this region, in Asia, Southeast Asia, at an accelerated pace. So, you ready? Now, back in 1996, I made my first trip to Korea. Now, I was working over there, and one of my colleagues said to me, hey, I bet you from the time it takes us to get from here, and I was staying at the Westin Chosun Hotel in Seoul, so from the Westin Chosun Hotel to Itaewon, it's probably about a 15-20 minute ride, you will be able to read Korean. I said, that's just stupid. I don't believe that. It's crazy. But you know what? By the time I arrived in Itaewon, it took about a 20-minute ride over there. I was able to read the signs in Korean with an amazingly close or intelligible pronunciation. So when I pronounced it to other Korean people, they would know what I'm saying. Now, this is amazing from not knowing a word of Korean or not even knowing how the whole phonetic structure was beforehand, to be able to be reading stuff and saying things and people understanding what I was saying. Now, how did that happen? Well, most Koreans would tell you it's because of the ingenious plan of King Sejong the Great. Now, the Hangul script was designed, and it was basically founded, they say, in 1443 by King Sejong the Great. He was the fourth king in the Joseon dynasty. Now, this script, there's a national holiday for the Hangul script in South Korea, and they'll say this script was ingenious in that it's based on the shapes of the mouth, where the letters are pronounced from. So, for example, the ka, that's a shape, it looks like that, and it's shaped in the as the back of the throat, as opposed to the sound. The sound is the tongue making the n in the front of the mouth, and then the th, also the tongue in the front of the mouth, but it's more of a square as opposed to the and so on. Now, as each shape goes, so is the place of pronunciation. Now, that's true to a point, and that was one of the reasons why I was able to pronounce them and remember them and use the fairly accurately so fast. But I'm telling you, there was another reason why. When I was a child, now Stuart J. Raj, I'm half Indian. Okay, so I'm allowed to be talking like this. It's taking me a long time to losing this accent. But now I can speak to you like this, and that's a joke, by the way. I've spoken like this all my life. Now, from when I was young, I learned how to read the Devanagari script and to be able to read Hindi and then Sanskrit. The beautiful thing about this, and I've turned this into my my own Indic chart here, but I could just use this as a demonstration. If you have a look here, this is a map. You don't have to be able to see the characters, but just look at this map. This is a map of the human mouth. From the back of the throat, ka 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 nga, moving forward, cha 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 nya, to the palate, da 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 da. These are these retroflex cerebral sounds. Da 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 da, moves forward to the tongue, ba 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 ma. So you've got ka, cha, da, da, ba. From the back of the throat right through to the forward of the throat. So you see this 5x5 grid here is the basic structure of how the mouth works and makes sounds. Then, now let me, in English, do we call Y a vowel or a consonant? Is R a vowel or a consonant? Now in English you're trained that, you're taught from a kid that they're consonants, but really, dai, e, is Y really a consonant? Well, the Indians of 3,000 years ago still had that same question too, and they said, okay, we call these semivowels. So we've got the ya, ra, la, wa. So semivowels also falling in these positions of the mouth. Ya, the palate, ra, the roof of the mouth, so cerebral, la, the teeth, wa, the lips. You can see these fall nicely. Sha, sha, sa. All these sibilants or SE hissing sounds also come from these same points in the mouth. Then you've got your h coming from the back of the throat, and here you have your base throat position, which would say ah. It's your basic vowel sound. Now, this writing system is called an Abugida as opposed to an alphabet. An Abugida is a system where you have an initial consonant or a cluster of consonant sounds. So say the word school, sk would be an initial consonant sound or consonant cluster. Then you have a vowel clipped on, oo, and then the final sound, if there is one, in the word in school, oo, is the final sound. So it'd be sk, then the vowel oo, then the final, oo, school. So this is how sounds are created in an abugida as opposed to an alphabet that's spelt across. Now, what does this have to do with Korean? Well, I've used this system, this map of the human mouth, not just for reading and writing Indian languages. I use it as a map to predict what sounds are going to sound like in new languages that I learn. For example, we take this word, say the word church. Okay, so here's the ch. The church. Now, what is church in German? Kirk, or even in Danish, kirk. Have a look at this. K, church. We just move up one. Church, kirk. Both of those, the beginning and the end, have just moved 1 point or 1 spot up on the map. Now, supposing iglesia in Spanish, g from k moves up another point. So we've gone from church to kirk, iglesia. I subconsciously, since I was a kid, when I hear a new word, if it's related to a word that I already know, I'll start mapping it out. In here, it's actually turned into a muscle memory kind of map and a subconscious thing that I do based on this map of the mouth. Now, as we're looking at, and it also works for Chinese, by the way, have a look at this. If I say ji in Mandarin, here's ji, and look in Cantonese, gai, which ji, gai, and with the moving back in the throat there, it turns to an but still pronouncing the e at the end. So ji turns to gai, gai, which in Thai is also gai. So it's not only for European languages or for Indic languages or Indo-European languages. Most languages you will find, as it changes across time, politics, geography, whatever, it will follow a pattern that can be tracked on this map of the mouth. Now, the map of the mouth principle wasn't lost in Korean. And come back to King Sejong. At the time, there was what in the court, now you know they would use the kanja or the Chinese characters. Now, when they were wanting to build an alphabet to write Korean, there were many different things, but they had what was called the Pagspa script, which was based on the Tibetan script. So the Tibetan script was based on this Indic 5x5 grid that we just looked at there. And so there were 5, and now this gets into a bit of controversial work by Gary Ledyard, who did his research on the origins of the Hangul script. But what he suggests is that not only was it King Sejong's thought to, it wasn't just a thought that popped in his head to base these on the shapes of the mouth, but it was also based on the letters from the Pagspa script, which was from Mongolia, the script that was made there for Kublai Khan, that was used way back in the 1200s, and then developed from the Tibetan script, which was used way back from around 600 AD. That script in Tibetan was based on the Brahmi 5x5. So you've gone from Brahmi to the Indic scripts, Tibetan to the Pagspa script. Now, this Pagspa script it's a square script, and it was used to pronounce all the, or to transliterate all the sounds that were used by the Yuan dynasty. So Chinese and Mongolian, all of these, they would use the Pagspa. But in the end, it didn't get a lot of use. It was mainly used by the academics and the higher echelon in society, and the normal people didn't really use this script, so it didn't survive. But there were these texts in the Chosun dynasty, and so King Sejong the Great and his people that were designing this also with him had access to these texts. And if you have a look, there's a very similar resemblance. Say, let's have a look at the k. Now have a look at this k sound from the back of the throat. Now look at the Tibetan and the Pakpa. Any resemblance there? Yeah, you can see that 90-degree sort of kick there at the back. And now I've developed my own system of glyphs that I use, and you can see on that chart also that my map, to help people learn the principles of language and sound transition, and learn even the tone rules in Thai are based on these positions of the mouth and based on these systems. So I've designed extra glyphs you can see here, but my glyph for the back of the throat, I have used the same glyph that they use in Korean for the back of the throat, which looks like the Tibetan and the Pakpa. Now let's move forward again. So we've gone from ka to ja. Now this is what you use in Korean. You can see from the palette you have these three ones. You have s. If in Korean you have a s and an I, it's pronounced shi. Otherwise it's s. But in any case, have a look at this. Now look at the Tibetan and the Pakpa. You get this pointed shape up in the top left, and also in Korean. That's like a little pointed shape going up. That's the s. Now when it reaches the palate and it makes that affricate sound, ch, ch. Okay, so you can see the s with a line on top is ch, and then as it pops out, we put a dot on it and becomes a hard ch. So you've gone s, ch, ch. All based on that same shape, which you can see in the Pakpa and Tibetan script. Now, I've used this similar shape for my second row in the map. Let's have a look at the third one, the th. Now, this is the tongue reaching to the teeth. Have a look in Tibetan, have a look in the Pakpa. It's the tongue reaching up to the teeth there, that same shape. And so this is what was used for the th. And so the t, the d, the t, the double letters in Korean are all based on this base shape. And even in the Pakpa script, you can see they've used a double t based on that d shape in Pakpa and Tibetan. Now, if we move along to the p. Now, no matter what Indic script it is, you'll see this very interesting fact that the p sound, this labial, is always this cup shape. Now, I've used a slightly different shape for mine. You can see in my glyphs. I've used one that looks like lips on the side. But in general, you can see that the p, anything with the p or b sound, as the first one in the shapes representing labial sounds, will always be this cup kind of shape in the Indic scripts. Now in Korean, it's not different. They use this cup shape, except here you see a stroke in it, meaning p. But you also have a p sound, which is a development on that. And as for the labials, you also have a sound. Now notice in all the Indic scripts, the sound has this little bubble, which I take it as representing the lips doing a nasal sound. And here in Korean, you see this box, which also represents the sound, as opposed to the bass voice sound, which is a circle. Now, I've used a circle also for the bass voice sound. And in Korean, that circle is also used as a bass voice sound, either to attach a vowel to it, so u, I, u, if it's in Korean, and or if it's put at the end, it's used a nasal sound. So if I was to write the word ang in Korean, I would have this bass voice and then put a circle at the bottom, and that would be ang, the nasal at the end. So the circle is playing two roles, but actually it's just representing that bass voice. Now, I've used that circle too because in Thai, we also have o-ang playing that role as the bass voice, basically placeholder that you can clip vowels onto or have represent the voice in any word. So, isn't that amazing? All of these correspondences between Korean to the Pakpa and Tibetan, so Mongolian, then Tibetan scripts, and then back into the Indic and Brahmi scripts, which are linked to the Thai, or the base of the Thai writing system also, and other scripts from, you have Cambodian, Burmese, Javanese, Balinese, and all these scripts throughout the region are based on this Brahmi Indic sound system. Now, there are some other interesting things that I notice in this Indic system. You have like a fork is always representing the y sound, this palatal y semivowel. Now have a look in Korean. All the y sound, you have ya, yu, yo, yo, that's always the fork added to the base vowel sound to make the y, the Y version of it. In IPA, that y is made by a J, but it's pronounced y. And you notice even the English Y has a fork in it. So this is just one thing I'll always notice when I'm learning a script, is that the y sound will tend to be a fork. It'll have a fork in it somewhere, just like the p has a cup in it. And not only that, if you have a look now at also, and this is one you see in Korean, r. These are cerebrals from the Sanskrit, but it's always this shape of the rolling tongue. Have a look in Korean, have a look in Tibetan, have a look in Sanskrit, and have a look in, this is the glyph that I use as a bent back tongue, saying they're cerebral, but it's always showing this rolliness of the tongue. R. Not many R's in languages are pronounced like we do in English. Mainly in these languages, in these regions, the R sound is a rolled tongue here, R, on the roof of the mouth, or on the palate, R. Now, another rolly sound, L, and you'll see in most Indic scripts, the L is also a rolly kind of shape, or it's like a tongue winding, and in Korean, the L and R, you basically use that same shape. And have a look at the Pagspa script and the Tibetan script. Very similar. In Thai, it's the same. So, getting back to how I learn languages, the Korean script, how I learned it so fast, you can see that this base Indic script and this base Indic map of the mouth is applicable not only to Indic languages, but to any languages, even to the point where you can see that the Hangul, the Korean script, was based on these principles. If you can have a look at the 5 different families again, who has learnt Mandarin? You have oh wow, that's all from here. The lips. They're all the dentals. They're all from here. They're all from here. They're blocked up again in the same groups. Now, in the pinyin for the Hanyu pinyin for Chinese, they might be in a different order, but it's the same principle. And it's these linguistic principles that languages move along, and it makes it easy for me to start predicting what a language might sound like, and then whether it does sound like it or it doesn't. If it doesn't, well, that difference isn't something I expected, so I use even that, the difference that I didn't anticipate, as a memory peg to remember that thing in the language. It's exactly what I did when I was learning the Korean script. I compared it to what I noticed, all these similarities with the Sanskrit and the Devanagari script and the different scripts that I knew from India, and I could draw parallels, and where they didn't match, well, those differences worked as memory points for me too, and that's what enabled me to learn to read and write the Korean script, the Hangul, within probably about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I've applied these through my glyphs to teaching Thai and other scripts. I can basically, if you know this system, you can learn any of the scripts in a matter of half an hour or so once you've learned one of them. So, this clip that I'm making today is a bit longer than the others, but it's something I'm passionate about, and it's something I'll be developing more and more on. It's something that I base all of my language teaching on in my own business, in J Academy, and all the classes and courses that I write and that I run. So I hope you've got a lot out of this clip. It's from my heart. It's what I believe in. It's what I'm passionate about. And I hope that once you get to sort of scratch beneath the surface of all this, you'll realize that actually, when you take politics aside, politics is the main thing that defines languages. It's when you're having a look at linguistic differences, they're not really that different as you would like to think. It's mainly politics that divide the language. So put the politics aside when you're learning. Look at the links between the languages, use them as memory points, as memory anchors, and I'm sure, just as I've been able to do, you're going to be able to get deeper and build your bank of languages to become more and more and more as those links are put together. Thanks for listening. I'm Stuart J. Raj.